guys, and welcome back to Torco Garage with NTG Builds. I'm NTG Builds, and we are building a 2006 C6 Corvette for the drive to Pro Spec, where I will be taking this stock C6 Corvette and doing all the necessary repairs and installations to make the car Pro-Am ready for competition in pursuit of my Pro Spec, or formerly Pro 2 license. So as the build comes along, hopefully you come along with us and you follow, and it helps you guys build your car, and maybe you can learn a little bit something out of it.
So you bought yourself a Corvette. The second smart decision you made is you went to DriftHQ.com and you ordered their dual caliper setup with retaining the stock e-brake. Third step is you came to my YouTube channel, and I'm NTG Builds. We're going to take you on a step-by-step installation process of the dual caliper setup from DriftHQ. While you're on DriftHQ.com, I hope you went ahead and ordered your plumbing kit that'll allow you to plumb your dual caliper setup to your handbrake. While I have you here, let me show you the difference and what it is about this setup as opposed to the original dual caliper setup from DriftHQ. You can see that there's a difference between the brackets here, just in shape and size. The difference between these two is one requires you to remove the stock e-brake pads and mechanism inside, allowing you to bolt this in its place and give you your second caliper setup on the back side here. What the kit that we're going to be installing today does allows you to leave everything in there, install this to the back side, and then have your dual caliper setup in the same place, same position, but retaining your stock e-brake setup. So we're going to go ahead and get started. Thank you for joining us. Make sure that you are subscribed and you hit that notification bell so that you don't miss any of our other build process.
Tool list you're going to need for this job is really limited, and you should be able to have most of these tools in your toolbox already, if not somewhere readily available that you can borrow from, and be able to get the job done here. Very, very simple. You're going to need a 22mm open end, an 18mm open end, a 15mm open end, a 15mm socket with a wobbly, a 3/8 ratchet, either your steering rack alignment tool or something like that. Wrenches will work, but it will end up rounding out your adjustment here, and so I recommend getting one of those. Harbor Freight, something like that if you can. Safety glasses is always recommended when working underneath the car and looking at things in a not well lit dark area, trying to see what you're doing. You got to protect your eyes. Bracket. And on inspection, as we were getting started here, I could see that the rotor needs to be turned. It's got a glaze on it, and there's a big lip here which is making it hard to get the calipers off. So what we're going to do really quick before we even get started is I'm going to zip these off, and then we're going to take them on over to O'Reilly's and have them turned so that when it comes time to actually do the final install, then everything's good to go. We're going to do a little out of step, but we'll take you along with you. It's really simple, guys. All you're going to do is you're going to take these two 13/16 bolts off here. We're going to use an impact with a deep well and a wobbly. We'll zip this off. We'll pry this off because of the lip. We'll probably have to use a pry bar, pry it off of the caliper. We'll strap the caliper up to here to the axle, and we'll move the rotors, and we will take them over to O'Reilly's and get them turned so we can pick them up later on this afternoon. Now nothing's going to fall, cause stress to go onto this brake line, or be in our way during any of our installation process. The other thing I've noticed here, guys, is these brackets look a little gnarly. Since I'm taking these brackets off, which is the emergency brake cable, and we're going to be retaining our emergency brake, I'm going to go ahead and get some paint and paint these, and then at some time in the future I will powder coat them, because just under here it's even though we've cleaned and pressure washed, it's still, you could see that this was driven in some snow. All right, first step, really simple. You're going to come around back here, you're going to pull off the wheel speed sensor and just get that out of the way. Then you're going to come right here, you're going to get the e-brake cable, release it from
the perch right there, and then come down here, pull the spring, and take it off of the actual mechanism there. Go ahead and take this and tuck it up out of the way. We will not need that until later, and we don't want to pinch it or have it in the way of anything. The next step we are going to do here is we are going to crack the lock nut on the rear tie rod, and we are going to only crack it, and I'll show you why. So here you're going to use your 22 millimeter and your 18 millimeter to crack this here. And I find that it's always better to work them towards each other so that you don't end up busting your knuckles. As you can see, that was pretty easy to break that loose. What you want to do is you get it loose, then you're going to take it back and snug it right up to the tie rod. And that way when we're done here, you don't have to get alignment to get it to the alignment shop. You are going to always want to take your car to an alignment shop or do a string alignment, have your buddies help you out with a down and dirty, something like that. If it's a straight track car, maybe you have a special setup you do, you're going to have to redo that after installing this here. This is the easiest way, it just frees up all the positions that you're going to get to here. So once you do this, you go ahead and you grab your steering rack tool, and you're just going to back this out. There's about 3/4 of an inch of threads you got to back out here, and the only way around it is getting it done. And your shoulders will get tired, so switch it up. But now this is free. That's great. We'll set that down. And now we can rotate this out of the way. The reason we're going to rotate this out of the way here is, you can see, we need to get to these bolts. So this is a 15 mil and this is a 15 millimeter bolt. It holds on the bracket, and we're actually going to end up taking the DriftHQ dual caliper bracket and bolting that on top of that using the same bolt, same fastener, same everything. It goes right there. There's one step you got to do here, which is key in order to make it nice and smooth for you. So let me get these bolts out, and then we'll cut to the other shot where you can see what it is exactly we're doing here. So we test fit it, couldn't get it fully on, but I figured out why that is. But I'm gonna go ahead and hit this with a wire wheel, and then hit it with some black paint over there, because it's, you know, we have it off, why not make it look nice? All right, guys, so the next step here, we pin these up out of the way, and we're gonna remove these two 15 millimeter bolts, 3/8 impact on a 6-inch extension with a wobbly. Then we will come right here, super easy, guys. Just make sure your impact is on reverse. And there we go. So this is the location where the bracket is actually going to go. First step though, before we do that, is you're gonna wanna take the e-brake cable, you're gonna wanna feed it through the bracket. So it's fed through the bracket right to where you have the most room. We're gonna pull off the e-brake cable bracket, move the bolts first, set them right down there on your workspace. This is actually going to go behind the bracket here. 2 holes line up, and that will give your ears for the caliper to bolt up to the exact spacement you need to be centered in line with your stock, running free and everything like that. The key here is you want to take your emergency cable. You'll bring the knuckle closer, grab the emergency cable. So we want to go up here Let's get this light so we can see. Oop. So we want to go up here, and if you can see right there, that is the emergency brake cable connection. So you're gonna go right up here, you're gonna twist it. Well, anyways, you're gonna twist it. Get your arm up over the top. Twist the bracket. Take the cable up over real quick like it's a bra. Flick your wrist like a bra strap. Boom. Comes off. Now what that's gonna do, as you can see right here, is gonna give us the length we need to come right here, hook the cable on, and have enough play. You're gonna wanna retain the cable back, then take the bracket, and just make sure you keep pressure on there. Doesn't have to be a lot, but you just don't want it to fall forward. Take one bolt, just start it in, and you'll guide. I guess I wedged it in a little extra there. But make sure you keep the pressure on the cable. Grab the cable bracket and then right there into the hole. So keep your pressure on the cable. Slide that all the way in. Grab your second. The next step here is you grab the second bolt. You're gonna want to just take a little peek here. Line it up with the bracket. Remember to keep pressure on the cable. And there you go. So now it's in. We've got the pressure on the cable. And it should be pretty well locked in now. There's not a lot of clearance between the end of that hook and the front face of the inside of the bracket there. So we're gonna go ahead, grab our 15 millimeter on a 6-inch wobbly, or a wobbly on a 6-inch extension. However you do it, get it 6 inches and make it wobble. Since these are in your aluminum knuckles, I do advise sending a few threads in before just zipping them in. The bolts do have a self-centering deal. It's just not worth it. Now that this is on here, 3/8 drive on a 6-inch wobbly. Make sure it's going the right way. And then also we made sure the threads were in. Oh yeah, we don't want to do that just yet. Sorry. So we leave that loose. Okay guys, so we get those in, we don't send them all the way home, and the reason we don't is I'll show you here right now. But what I am gonna do is go back up over here and reconnect this cable so I no longer have to worry about that spring coming off. So the same thing, you're just gonna flip it and reverse it, put it in over the top, boom, click it. Super simple. Then you come back here. You can just make sure that the spring is perched up on here, down there, the slack's been pulled up, and that's now out of the way. That's super awesome. So then we're gonna go ahead and grab our caliper. So then we come over here, we grab our caliper. What you're gonna wanna do is take out these cotter pins. Just put them in the box so you don't lose them. But that's amazing. Those hold in your brake pads, so it's gonna be a real quick swap when you need to on the track. You're gonna go ahead, come back here, and you're going to grab your bolts provided in the DriftHQ kit. Slide it on. You're just gonna get one in. Get your thread in. And remember, we left this loose for a reason. We're gonna come right here, grab the bolt, and then you're gonna have to kind of just wiggle it around. But once you get the threads in, then battery died. Or I cross-threaded it. Certainly hope not. Oh no. We're just gonna go ahead and snug them up. Same thing here. Then after you get this bottom one nice and snugged up, don't pop your tendons. Tighten that one. Now what we're able to do is grab an impact, 15 mil, 6-inch wobbly, get the air connected, make sure it's going forward. Okay, so you've got it up here. We've got it arranged. We used the bolts to line everything up, the stock bolts that came there. Now we're gonna grab the bolts that came in the kit. Now the reason that we're using a longer bolt is because it adds about 35 or 15 millimeter to the bolt you can see here. So since we added a bracket that's about that thick, we add this in here. That way we can make sure we get all the meat that we need on the threads. So I lined it up with everything else with the stock ones. Now we take the provided hardware from DriftHQ, thread that in fact, you know what we're gonna do? I'm gonna throw some orange Permatex Loctite on there just because I want to make sure it stays. It's not required, but I put this is the holds like blue or holds like red but releases like blue. Great stuff. And just go ahead, thread that on in. And you're not going to want to use any power tools on this. It'll be tempting, but just take the time and don't go all the way because you want to be able to get this one out. And so we just had those snugged up. I guess you could originally put them in, but I used them to align everything. Everything's nice and snug. We'll go ahead and bring this back. Install the cable. Bring the tie rod in. Your tie rod tool. Go backward and forward. You can see the nice new hardware in there installed. Everything tightened down. You could save yourself a step. Just go ahead and install those on the first one. But I was just making sure everything aligned up. So just go ahead and install those on the first time if you'd like. Thinking back on it now, I would have just done it that way the first time, but I liked those tips of that bolt to just make sure everything was in there without cross-threading into the hubs. There we go. Cut this here. Lock the nut. We'll still have to throw this up on the alignment tool or up on an alignment rack and get this thing lined up, or you'll have to have one of your buddies help you out with that. Then you'll go ahead, just bring these back. And I moved those to not scratch my hand while I was over there doing it, but that is it. All right, guys, thanks for joining me on Torco's Garage with NTG Builds, and this has been Torco USA's C6 build, where today we installed DriftHQ's dual caliper setup that allows you to retain your stock e-brake, which will make being on grid, loading up on trailers, a nice luxury to have in order to get those things done. It's a very straightforward and simple install. Hopefully these steps will remove any of your questions, and that way you'll get it installed the first time, no problems, and be ready to get on grid and do drifty boy stuff. All right, guys, thank you so much. Make sure you subscribe to Torco USA and NTG Builds YouTube channels so that you do not miss any of the upcoming builds of Torco USA with NTG Builds Drive to Pro Spec.